You know, if there's one thing I think we can all agree on, it's that critics don't frequently get things right. What's going on, everybody? Jay here from Square Pegs, and today I want to talk to you about the games that aren't bad, that people overlooked. I want to talk about the ones that are kind of somewhere in the middle. If these were students, they would be C students. They'd be right in the middle of the road, average scores at best, but these are games that are actually really goddamn good. Now, I have a long love for games that typically are considered mediocre by critics, and I want to talk to you about 10 of them today. We're going to talk about 10 games on 10 different consoles. So we're going to start things off with a game that released on the PlayStation 5. We're going to start with the newest console I own. We're talking about Sackboy: A Big Adventure. First out the gate, and we were talking about a game that actually has a fairly high score in terms of what this ranking system is here, or I guess my grade book is. This is Sackboy: A Big Adventure on the PlayStation 5, and this has a 79 overall, which, if you go by a school grading scale, is a C+. This is above average, but it's still a C, and I don't understand why, because I do think this game is incredible. There is some absolutely just magnificent stuff done with music in this game that blew my mind the first time I played it. The rhythm aspect and the things that are brought in, not necessarily as a rhythm game, but that just happen as you're playing, set to the rhythm, made me just ecstatic to experience. It was something that I'd never really seen before, and it actually made me think about how to edit videos in that regard. I haven't done it yet because I'm not a great editor, but it made me think about it at the very least. On top of that, this is a magnificent multiplayer game. This is something Meredith and I had fun playing together, and it's something I just absolutely love. Now, is it as crazy advanced as other Little Big Planet games? No, absolutely not. But it's fun. You know what, I'm chalking this one up to the fact that this is a licensed game and people just bypassed it because of that, and critics wrote it off because it was a licensed game and it was a DS title and people weren't digging the DS at the time. But man, I am telling you, Thor: God of Thunder is fantastic. This was developed by WayForward. It plays off the plot from the original Thor movie, and it is so much fun. It is a great DS game that makes use of both screens, that takes advantage of the actual system capabilities, and plays so brilliantly well. This is one of the games that I have had the most fun with on the DS. There's a lot of great titles on there that people overlooked, but this one shocks me that it comes in at a 67, because honestly, I think if people played this for more than like 2 minutes, they would adore it. I grant you that the first level is a little bit slow, but as soon as you get through that tutorial sequence, this game absolutely sings. Alright, full disclosure, never thought I would get these games released ever again. If you don't know what this is Baten Kaitos 1 2, the HD remaster, and I will admit to you, this does play kind of fast and loose with the average rule here, but it is a 79 on Metacritic, which puts it firmly as a C+ student. Now, if you've never played this game, this is a deck-building RPG from Bandai Namco. It has really, really fun storytelling, great characters, wonderful graphics, amazing music. Like, the music in this game is just absolutely killer. But the best part is the combat system. So this is a deck builder, which, if you don't know what a deck builder is, basically you're collecting different items to add to your deck of cards to use in combat scenarios. Now, you can use those to harm enemies, to heal your allies, or to just cast general spells or defend. And I think it plays so brilliantly well because all of that is done in real time. So you need to be thinking actively and thinking on your feet in order to be able to make the correct choices with the cards that are presented to you. I love this game, one of my favorites, and I'm shocked that it's only at a 79 because I think the HD remaster is a brilliant collection. 2 fantastic games for the price of 1. I also want to point out, this does have a physical release, so if you're interested in getting this, be sure to look for the physical cartridge because, I mean, come on, it's a fantastic collection. Off to my favorite 16-bit console, the Sega Genesis, and this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist. This comes in at a 77, which again is a high-level C, but from what I have gathered, based on folks voicing their opinions on my ranking video where I ranked everything in the Cowabunga collection, that's far too high because, boy, howdy do a lot of people hate this game. And I think y'all are crazy. I actually prefer this to Turtles in Time. And I know that does make me weird, but I like this one. And nostalgia might be doing some heavy lifting there because this is the one I played the most when I was a kid, but it's something where I just enjoy it. I like the locomotion in the game. I like the animations. I like the speed. I think the sound is good. It's not as good as Turtles in Time, I will give you that, but I do think that just overall, I have more fun with this one than I do Turtles in Time. And a lot of that comes from the fact that the controls implemented in Hyperzone Heist just work better for me personally. I understand why folks like Turtles in Time, and I can absolutely respect why people like it more than this game, but I love this one. 3, 2, 1. Now, I had never played this game before I did my EA Sports Big ranking video. This is one that just passed me by. I didn't really even know it existed until I was putting together the list of EA Sports Big games, and I picked it up thinking it was going to be terrible. This is Shocks. Shocks has a 78 score on Metacritic, which is a high C, but it's still... Ooh, I want a high C now. It's still a good game, though. This is a fantastic racing game that makes some really good decisions as far as physics and track design go. The physics in the game are fantastic. It plays a little bit loose with like what real physics are, but it's an EA big game, so it's over the top. It's supposed to be rambunctious, it's supposed to be bombastic, and it hits that in every single note. And the level designs in the game are fantastic as well. It's just a blast to play. This is one I had a ton of fun with. Now, it's not the one I've gone back to the most frequently from that EA Big video. That would actually be Freakstyle, which I bombed the rating on that one. I completely messed that one up when I did my ranking video, but Shocks is something that I think a lot of people need to put more eyes on, and that critics did not fairly treat when they did the review. Reviewers back in the day did not like Castlevania 2. This has a 71 average score from reviewers back in the day. And that just blows my mind because this is my favorite NES Castlevania. I get that it's a complete departure from Castlevania 1, and I get that Castlevania 3 went back to what made Castlevania 1 work. But Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest is not a bad game. It takes that core gameplay element of what made Castlevania great and turns it into a Metroidvania. This is our first Metroidvania, in fact, in the Castlevania line. And it works. I just love it. I love the day-night cycle. I love the RPG elements. I love the exploration and being able to go any direction you want to go from jump. It's fascinating to me, and it's so much fun. This is something I've loved for decades now. And to see it rank so low kind of breaks my heart a little bit because I just love, love, love this game. Man, this one is one that I am not a fan of the source material here. This is Defender on the GameCube, and this has a 66 Metacritic score, which is so low for such a fantastic space shooter. I adore this game. I was blown away by this when I popped it in. I legitimately expected nothing from it, and what I got was the most competent space shooter on the Nintendo GameCube that isn't a Star Wars or Star Fox game. Everything in this game hits. For something that could have been completely phoned in and not done anything with, they really, really put an effort into this one, and I cannot understand why it's ranked so low. And I'm not alone in that regard. I know GameCube Galaxy, my friend Marcello, really enjoys this one as well, and if there's anyone I'm going to defer to on GameCube opinions, it's him. He's a damn genius for the system. I really love this one. I think this has got an unfair shake, and I think it is way too low at a 66. The Nintendo 64 is a console where I think games are typically fairly reviewed. I think there's a pretty clear delineation on quality on the N64 and games that are just not great. There was a lot of difficulty adapting titles to that console. So Robotron 64 coming into the 72 kind of shocks me because I think it's a lot of fun. I think it plays faithfully to the arcade original. I think it's a really good game. Now, I can see it being knocked down a little bit because the original is a twin-stick shooter, and this one doesn't have that second stick. You have to use the C buttons to shoot your lasers, but I think it plays really well, and I think it looks good. It's one that I have a lot of fun with. Now, I could be kind of predisposed to that because I enjoy the original Robotron, but I think the 64 version is quality, and a 72 for it just feels low. I think it's a lot better than that, and I think it's something that more people need to play because I don't know of a lot of folks that have played it but the folks I do know that have played it have loved it. Hopping over to the Nintendo Wii now for one of my favorite games on the console. This is Wario Land Shake It, and this only has a 78. So I get that there's probably some it's on the Wii in play here by knocking it down that way because it does utilize motion controls, and I think by the time this one released, people were probably sick as hell of motion controls, but the way they're implemented works. It plays great. The motion controls are not obtrusive. They just play brilliantly well. They make the game more fun. And the hand-drawn animation style of the game is mind-blowingly gorgeous. Like, this game is one of the best-looking Wii games ever released. And it just kind of sits at a 78. It's a high-level C, but it's not something where I think it gets a fair shake just based on the things that it did. Like I said, the motion controls are great, level designs are great. The use of Wario and the ability to just shake the hell out of everything in the game to get more money out of it is perfect for the character. I do think critics missed the mark on this one, and I do think it was probably something that more folks overlooked because of that critic score. This one just offends me because I love this game, and I didn't know it existed until Video Games Monthly sent it to me. Now, I've talked about this game a lot, almost ad nauseum, I would say. I'm sure people are sick of me talking about it, but this is Fantastic Four Flame On for the Game Boy Advance. This gets a 60 score on Metacritic. This is a D. This is almost an F, and I am just flabbergasted. My gast is flabbered that this has scored that low because I think it's absolutely brilliant. This is developed by Taurus Interactive, which is the same team that developed Invincible Iron Man on the Game Boy Advance, and this is the most true to the comics version of the Fantastic Four we've ever seen in video game form. This game is absolutely fantastic. It's so much fun. Yes, I just said fantastic talking about a Fantastic Four game. I'm sorry, forgive me. Everybody just calm down. But I love it. It's one that I go back to constantly. And when I was introduced to this, when I got this in my VGM box, I was convinced this game was going to be atrocious. And it is, again, just fantastic. Now, when I was in the game industry, Metacritic was one of the scariest things on the planet. We had bonuses tied to how our Metacritic performance was, not really realizing at the time exactly how Metacritic functioned. It was a thing that was an aggregator. It didn't really tell you anything other than kind of averaging every score. So if one person didn't like your game and you only had 4 or 5 reviews, that would tank everything about your title. It's kind of a terrible way to go about life. There you have it. Those are my 10 games, 10 average games that I think critics missed the boat on. Let me know in the comments down below if you've got any games like that. Now, I've amassed a list. I have gone through and recorded the Metacritic score for every single game I own. And if Metacritic wasn't a thing when it released, I went back and looked at each game that released prior to Metacritic being a thing and averaged their review scores based on their Wikipedia pages. This one took a while, and this might be a fruitless thing, but I actually kind of had fun with it because I realized how many games are just overlooked based on their review score. If this is your first time here, I think it's super cool. I really do appreciate you stopping by and checking out the video. Be sure to click that thumbs up button down below. Engagement really does help the channel out. And if you are still here at the end of the video, that's awesome. Why don't you click subscribe and stick around? We're on our way to 14,000 subscribers. The sky's the limit for this channel, and I look forward to spending some time with you and talking more about video games. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon. Hey, just going to interrupt real quick. In 1 week, I am going to be at the Southeast Game Exchange. That's right, July 6th and 7th in Greenville, South Carolina. I will be at the Southeast Game Exchange. Be sure to stop by. I would love to see you there.